Is Jane gonna be here? Jonathan, is Jane going? No. Oh, okay, okay, just want to make sure.
It's still circulating.
Yeah, it's going around lots of places.
Yeah. Okay. Mm, she's gonna be late. Yes.
That includes all that.
They will start once, okay, she's coming back.
I don't know if I want to speak or not, but I would just go ahead and turn this in. So if I
Sure.
decide to-
You can never, you gotta be safe about these things, yes.
I haven't put anything on there because I
You
don't.
can
know
never be sure,
whether- Are we gonna be allowed to speak during the body of the thing or just during public comments or?
just during public comments at
Okay,
this
then
point.
probably during public comments, if I don't want to say anything or not, so just maybe.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the City of Palatka workshop at 10 a.m. This is about our charter and how to proceed with charter update. It's January 8th, 2024. We're going to call the meeting to order as we have in the invocation by Pastor Mulberry.
Morning, everyone. Father, we thank you again for this day. We thank you for how you watched over us through the night. You allowed us to see a day we'd never seen before. We thank you, dear God, for this time of assembling and coming together to commemorate and to express our thanks to you for the over 100 years existence. We pray, God, that you will continue to bless this city, guide, help, direct, instruct, and do what you do, God, for us continually. We're dependent on you even the more as we move forward into this new year. We pray blessings upon this commission. We pray blessings upon these leaders. We ask for their wisdom and guidance and all that they undergird to do for your glory. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Jones, could you go through the pledge, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Krantz, could you read the special called workshop notice, please?
Sure, thank you so much. To Commissioners Tammy McCaskill, Will Jones, Rufus Borum, and Justin Campbell, you're hereby notified that a special called workshop of the Palatka City Commission is called to be held on January 8th, 2024 at 10 a.m. at City Hall, 201 North 2nd Street, Palatka, Florida 32177. The purpose of the workshop is to discuss the charter review process. Please govern yourselves accordingly. Signed, Roberta M. Correa, Mayor.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Thank you. Commissioner Tammy McCaskill is not present, but en route. Commissioner Justin Campbell, not present. Commissioner Will Jones.
Present.
Commissioner Rufus Borum.
Present.
Mayor Robbie Correa.
Present.
We have a quorum in the chambers, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'm now going to open the floor up to public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment? Ms. Kitchens?
Allegra Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. Didn't even mean to speak under public comments, but as that's our only opportunity, even though this is a workshop. I read the memorandum from the city attorney. There's nothing wrong with our charter. Basically, there's a few little tweaks that need to be done. The city attorney's already suggested what they are. She could do them probably in a heartbeat. I don't see any need or any reason to have a full charter commission review committee to review the charter when the city attorney's already done it. We have a good city charter. It's less than 100 years old, not 100 as people have said. Obviously, you've seen it's been updated. 1923 was the original charter, changed in 1947, which is the same year I was born. So it's not 100 years old, folks, in spite of how bad I look. Also, changes were made in 83, 1990, 93, 94, 96, and 2006. And of course, in 1956, an update. So there's nothing wrong with the city charter, basically. It does not need to be updated. It does need to be tweaked in the areas that the city attorney said that it needed to be tweaked. So I think this is a waste of your time. And I just don't think it needs to be done. However, if you're bound, darned, and determined to move ahead with it, which you are, then go ahead. But I just think it's unnecessary. And I don't like unnecessary stuff. We have a great city that works great. Our form of government works great. There's been no problem with it for over 100 years. So the old saying, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. There's nothing wrong with our city charter except the minor things that the city attorney pointed out, which are no big deal, nothing illegal, no nothing. So please, you got a good thing going. Don't mess with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. To the discussion items, Charter Review Committee composition. Commissioner Barham, your thoughts on that?
The composition, I don't
Yes,
have any at
please.
this time, no.
Okay. Commissioner Jones?
There was a mention about a memo. When was that sent?
It begins on the.
When was it sent originally?
October. Oh, we
October?
talking about, I thought it was a newer memo.
No, no.
So Mayor, may I just point out a few
Yes,
things?
please.
So in your packet, and you may recall when Lynn Tipton came to speak to us, one of the slides actually speaks to the committee. And I think the questions that may help further the conversation is, do you want to appoint specific members? Or do you want to take applications and then review and appoint? And did you have an idea of the size of the committee, the number of members? In her presentation, it does state that the committee is usually tasked with a time-specific review. They're assisted by counsel. One other option, in addition to counsel, and based upon what they're tasked with, there may be other industry experts that you pull in to speak to them, be it a senior advisor from FCCMA, be it someone from the Gas Authority, if it's related to a charter amendment related to the Gas Authority. I think you get the gist. And then I'll also point out on her slide, the role of citizens in this process is crucial: representation of the public, ability to weigh issues, and to understand the charter's importance as a city's governing foundation. So again, I think if you would focus on how you want to select and appoint and the size of the committee, that'd be a good start.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones, do you have any thoughts about the composition of the commission, of the committee, excuse me?
I think what we need to do is determine the scope of how much of the charter we want to change. Some of it won't require a committee. And I think that need to be identified first and foremost prior to talking about the committee. That's my opinion.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Commissioner Barr?
In my opinion, there is not a lot of changes that need to be made as it relates to even what former Commissioner Kitchens stated. So we're gonna continue to look, and we can continue to look through the charter. It's not that many pages. Like I say, most of it has to do with meets and bounds stuff. So again, there's not a lot of changes that I think that need to be made.
And my thought is that the city attorney, we may add to this or not, but outlined some of the areas specifically that we may need to address or modify or change. So I think that could be our guideline, or our guideline to developing that scope without going in, making it more challenging than it needs to be. It's pretty clearly outlined. Committee composition, I agree. I like the idea of, I think the community needs to be involved. I think they need to provide input, and I think we need to listen to that input, but I also think the composition can be as suggested, people from the community, but also representation perhaps from the airport, Gas Authority, who, the airport's not currently even mentioned in the charter. So those kind of things, I think, as far as composition. So with that said, and when you talk about the scope, what, other than what is listed, by the city attorney as some things to address. Do you see anything else?
Well, I would like to see on, I think it's pages. We talked, the main thing I want to see and have information on is on behind page, it has 2 pages. Page numbers, it has 4 and then under it has 27. So which one are we referencing?
Well, we can start at the
When we're
beginning.
going through this.
We can start at 4 if you want to
No,
start.
page 4, I also have, well, not page 4, page number 4 also have number 27 about under. You see what I mean right here?
Yes.
So
I
what,
see that.
what are we gonna reference it as, 4 or 27?
I would reference it as the attorney's recommendations or suggestions, page 4,
Okay,
versus in Tipton's summary or PowerPoint.
it's behind that page, number 4, where you have some of the municipalities and the county. I would have liked to seen all 67 counties, excuse me. Yeah, all 67 counties in the municipalities that's similar in size on here. I think we only have 1, 2, 3. 16 as a sample in comparison. How do you compare it to just 16? And that's saying that they have the council manager structure, or let's see, all, so that we can compare where we are. As far as when we're saying, well, these municipalities are structured in such way, but we don't have all of the municipalities, so that we could actually compare where we are and the needs of our city as well as their city and the reasons behind it. If we're gonna do any research, you should have an ample sample group. That's what I would think. That's what I would like to see. So we can start there. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
I concur with the sample size, and will be much more relevant as opposed to a smaller sample size. So you can do
So
a fair comparison, at least, I would say.
or you could explain to me why does it have just those 16 on one page and then the rest, and it's kind of look like it's broken down, but there's not a reason behind it. There's no labels or anything on those pages.
And without Ms. West here to specifically, I don't know, Mr. Griffith, if you know.
So
what I-
actually, Ms. Krantz worked on this work product, so if
Okay.
you had questions regarding it, I'd direct them to her.
Okay.
Is there
Ms.
any
West.
reason why, Ms. Grant? I mean, it's not easy to follow.
What I attempted to do, and I took out, the original thing in the packet had a bunch of blanks in it, so I did take out the blanks so that it would be easier to, try to be easier to follow for you guys. I sorted it down to council manager and with size. Everyone between approximately 4,208 of council manager size up to 12,887 is represented. And the cities highlighted are the city's peers that this commission said are geographical peers of the city.
So what you could have been,
But I can filter the data in any way you wish it to be really quickly.
well, while you have that up, you can show us all.
Mhm.
Could you sort it? And all that has the same structure as we have?
Yeah.
Well, most cities in Florida, or across the nation is pretty much council manager. You don't find many strong mayors or, other forms of government. Mainly, everybody is, generally moved to the council manager structure.
Right. I'm more concerned with, to be honest, I'm more concerned with the internal structure, as far as direct reports. Where, to be more clear, where I ain't coming here to do all the talking, so. But I tell you,
No, finish what you're saying.
we're going with this is, you have manager. And, excuse me, you have council manager, then you have under manager, city clerk, city attorney, and so forth and so on. There are some municipalities that have council, manager, clerk, and attorney answering to the council. I don't know if you looked that deep or did a deeper dive for that, did you?
Yeah,
Okay, can you show us those?
I mean, here, if
Both.
you'd like me to sort it down by just council manager reporting to the manager for clerk.
Yeah.
These are all the ones surveyed, responded, that say they report to the city manager. I'm confident with summarizing the research to say that the majority of cities of our size, the clerk reports to the city manager.
As do the other appointed positions. We are considered the legislative body, not the administrative.
Right.
And we're also considered, even though that doesn't always hold true, to be in part-time positions. So to me, for us to supervise, be administrative leadership would be a challenge in that role. And I'm not sure it's entirely appropriate. I know other communities do it, and usually it's strong mayor communities that do that. I'm not sure that given how long it's taking us to hire a city manager, I don't know if that's a good process for us to take that lead, frankly. But that's my opinion.
In terms of
Just
hiring a city,
go ahead.
we've had some hiccups and snafus around that, so that's the reason why we're having an issue along those lines, but.
Commissioner
Thank you,
McCaskill?
Madam Mayor. Pardon me for being late. I just didn't understand. I came in late, so I didn't know Commissioner Jones's question. Is that where he was leading? Is that why he was asking these questions? Is that the direction we're headed in, Commissioner Jones?
I'll just give you a recap, Commissioner McCaskill. The question was basically, do we feel that we need a smaller commission or appoint a board or group to actually lead this charge as far as the charter changes, that they review the charter and give us recommendations of what they feel need to be changed. And I said, I don't think that's necessary because we're talking about making a total change in the charter. And I started talking about what I personally would like to see changed in the charter, or at least considered to see where we are compared to other municipalities. And that's for information purposes. And here we have a list, but there's no rhyme or reason for that list that we could understand. It wasn't any legend to go by this, to know what this information really was giving us at the time. Ms. Krantz just was going over to tell us at this point, the commission manager type, but my most concern was the structure and the answering structure. And that's when Ms. Correa gave her input on what she felt. And that's where we are, what the commission thinks.
So we've kind of bounced around a bit as to whether, first of all, I think the first question is, do we feel there's a need for a charter review committee or not? And I personally feel there's a need because I think the community needs to have input. And give us their thoughts on that. Now, whatever, again, I don't know what, we'll go to Commissioner McCaskill. What's your thought on that?
I think that's the direction that Ms. Tilton did advise us that we should have a charter review committee. Just as a reminder to my fellow commissioners that she did come and do that presentation, and that was one of the recommendations that she did give us. So we need to kind of keep that in mind, but.
Commissioner Barr?
I mean, again, to echo what Commissioner McCaskill said, that's what Ms. Tipton did, make a recommendation along those lines. I think it's always important. It's not as if the Charter Review Commission would dictate to the commission as to what need to be changed. Basically, they're just going through, looking at things and making recommendations. So I don't see a problem with moving that forward. I mean, it doesn't have to be like soon that it get implemented, but at some point, I think it needs to be implemented.
Okay, so we, at this point, have 3 of us that are in favor of the committee. So now we have to determine.
I'd like, if Mayor, if I may,
Oh, I
I
didn't know
would
when you
like,
were there. I'm sorry, Commissioner Campbell.
no, that's fine. I would definitely want to make sure that, we have a committee as well. It came at the recommendation of the league, and so I'm definitely in favor of making sure that we implement a committee to help facilitate this process.
Thank you. And now we know you're here, so Commissioner Campbell is present via Zoom. And so again, now we're back to the composition of that committee representation. How are we going to determine that? Maybe, I'm sorry, Mr. Griffith, can you state again, because Ms. McCaskill and Commissioner McCaskill and Commissioner
Yes.
Campbell were not present at the time.
Yes, so of course, again, Ms. Tipton did stress community involvement. She did not state the size of the committee or the composition, but I think you can take that general directive as to kind of engage the community as best as possible is probably an idea. You want to get a good number of people. You want to have good representation across the entire community. And you're probably going to want to pick people that would be dedicated to kind of see this through, understanding that it may be a little bit more than just meeting a handful of times. There'll be some review material. They're probably going to listen to specific experts if they got any questions, depending on the nature of the scope that you direct down to them. But you could just take applications, or you could propose membership appointees if you saw so fit.
Okay, so that was kind of the question, applications, or do we individually suggest appointees? And again, we've obviously gonna come up with a number on this committee. So what do we think is a number that represents the community, but is also a workable number that will get things done? Go ahead, Commissioner
If
McCaskill.
I recall reading, I may be wrong, I think, they said maybe 6, could be a good number, maybe not going over, maybe 11. I can't recall much. I needed to reread it. It's been a little bit before, since I read it. But I'm thinking along the lines that each of us, is 5 of us here, if each of us were able to choose 2, that would give us 10. And that seems like a workable number, and not being too much where it goes outside the guidelines of the recommendations from the league. If that's something that you all are okay with, or taking the applications, it's just whatever the.
If I may,
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Campbell.
I'm in favor of Commissioner McCaskill's a part of it, but I would make the recommendation if each one of us would be able to select one person and then do an application process to allow, because we may not consider some people that may be interested. And again, I don't want us to kind of limit ourselves based on who we know, but there may be some individuals that may be interested that we didn't consider that may be very instrumental in helping moving this process forth. So my recommendation would be to take each one of us, have our own selected, and then do an application process for those that may be interested.
I agree, that makes sense to me too. I was concerned about not opening it up to a larger group that we may not be aware of folks that want to participate. Go ahead, Commissioner Jones, sorry.
Well, first thing I want to say is, almost chokes me to say it. Kind of agree with Ms. Kitchens about this may not be necessary when are we going to look at this and look at the changes and say, well, you know what? We agree with the attorney, her overview, and this is what we feel that needs changing. The rest is okay. Then we wouldn't have to waste, I'm gonna say waste, well, I think it is. It could be a waste of time to go through everything in the charter. I mean, that's what she said. I understand as we sit here pondering getting another commission. Now let's just, and it makes sense because we have it in front of us right now to review. The review could be as quick as looking over this thoroughly today and saying, okay, we agree with this and move forward. I don't know.
I think we can use the attorney's recommendations as a template, even for the committee. We may want to look at it a little bit, each of us, but I think that could be the template for them to follow as far as the scope goes. But I still think it's very important to have community input and recommendations. This hasn't been done in a while. I think it is important. Commissioner Barr?
Me, I'm I'm in agreement with pretty much everybody. We got a mix of everything. And the common theme is, making sure that we have the input from, the board as well as, people in the community. But I think if we're gonna be doing an application process, what is the criteria? We gotta look at the criteria. What are we really looking for? And then if we select someone, they need to meet that same criteria. So before we create an application, what's the criteria? And so we need to develop that first, in my opinion.
May I ask a question in reference
You
to
may,
Commissioner?
Commissioner Campbell, go ahead.
What is the criteria for meeting the current boards that we have in place?
I don't know. I mean, that's, again.
No, that was directed to staff.
Okay,
That was a
yeah.
question.
So, yeah, we need to kind of maybe go look at something along those lines.
Planning, like,
So-
to see your look sunny.
Ms. Krantz, could you just give an outline of what's requested on the application for a board seat?
Up the application. Give me just a moment.
Thank you.
Allow me to share it so that Commissioner Campbell can see it as well.
Mhm. Please.
This is our, I'm gonna get that out of the way, sorry. This is the application that's presently on the website for the various boards that the city has. I can make it bigger as well.
So overall, and just seeing what I'm seeing, there are no true qualifications outside of being a business owner or a City of Palatka resident.
It depends on the board, sir. The pension boards have a residential requirement written within the code, and also there's different ways of getting on the pension board. For example, the board appoints one with the ratification of the commission appoints to the representatives of the board.
So
Retirement.
I guess my question would be now, and taking in consideration what Commissioner Borum said, are we looking to just keep it to what any other board is required, or are we looking to give more of a parameter or more some more qualifications in order to qualify for this particular board? And I think that's a question that's posed to my fellow commissioners.
Mayor.
Yes, Commissioner Boyle.
I think we really need to look at, in terms of, we're not talking about real outlandish, requirements. I think if we're gonna say, we want a board of so many people, and if there's no requirements, we can get people from Montana, we can get people from, Dubai, we can get people from all over. So we need to, kind of constrain it in time. Is it gonna be limited to Putnam County and Palatka? So that's some of the criteria I think that needs to kind of go in there, and we need to speak to those things.
Okay, and it does, I mean, again, the attorney proposed some things, it doesn't encompass all of what we've just said, and we did decide, I believe, on 10 members. I think that's what so that I just filled in that little blank. I think obviously they either have to be a resident or property business owner in the city. I mean, I think that eliminates Dubai and Montana.
Well, no. Well, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, criteria wise, that's what we need to be trying to
Yeah.
speak to if we're gonna be giving out applications along those lines. So I was just making a point.
And further, the city attorney suggests they receive no compensation, that's clear to people. And that they are committed to this process, that they have to be available and willing to participate until it's completed. So it does say the city commission shall budget funds for the operation of this committee, which again.
So Mayor, what you're reading there is if we were gonna replace the Charter Review Commission in the charter.
Okay, okay.
That's
No, I'm
specific
reading that,
language.
but it's still, I understand that, but it's still giving some basic guidelines that perhaps we can look at. Obviously residency and business ownership are the priorities, and commitment. Is there anything else, Commissioner? Any other commissioner would like to say about this?
Well, if we were to move and to a referendum or to have this on the ballot, only city residents would be able to vote for it.
Mhm.
So these are decisions that I feel if it moves to that, city residents would be in charge of determining these changes. So wouldn't it make sense? I mean,
That's fine. I mean, again, it's up to this commission what they think the process should be, or the application. Commission members, committee members should be. Commissioner Campbell, do you have any input? If not,
Um,
as-
I'm in agreement with making sure that the citizens are residents within the city.
Okay, so we have 10 on the committee. We have, they will have to be residents of the city.
Commissioners, Mayor, could I make a
Yes,
suggestion?
please.
I think at times it's good to have options. You will, ultimately have the ultimate decision of who you place on this committee. There may be some benefit to allowing business owners to apply, but then when you actually appoint people, you could, place a little bit of preference on residency. You may lose out on some qualified people that we're not thinking of right now. And you may also just severely limit the pool of, potential applicants for you ultimately to consider. So it's just a suggestion. I can just think of a couple people that they own businesses in town, but they don't have residency in town. And even though they don't have a vote when it comes to November, the laws and the ordinance of the city of Palatka still have a profound effect on their livelihood. So it's just something to consider.
Okay. So again, what is our overall thought about the appointees as to whether they should be, is it open to business owners as well? Personally, I know I'm a business owner, but I also live here. I think that it should be. I think we do have input and they are impacted, and I get a lot of feedback from them that they can't vote, which they can't, but I think this is an opportunity for them at least to give some input and thought about the city. What are other people's thoughts?
Well, I'm in agreement with that part at least. I mean, again, they can't vote, but they are making investments in the community and different things of those nature. So I think that's a fair gesture that we allow for them to take part in that process, I think.
Commissioner McCaskill, any thoughts?
That is what provides appropriate balance, so.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else we need to decide in terms of this application? Obviously,
Potentially a deadline. I know,
Okay.
Commissioner
Timeline.
Jones made a comment about if you wanted to make it on the ballot, you're
It's gonna
looking
be
at May.
It's gonna be-
So how long do you want to receive applications, assuming you get a number to select, a full committee? And again, you may not get 10 that you like, but you may get 7, and at that point, you may decide to go ahead and call the committee. I think you need to leave those options open for yourself. But if you wanted to just put a deadline on receiving applications, that would help. I think Peter stepped out because we had to get a press release out about a road closure, but we're obviously assuming we're going to be pushing this out to get as much exposure and potentially the most amount of applicants for you to consider. So do you want a deadline?
Yeah, I still think we need to give them the time, but we need to keep it fairly brief. So I mean, I don't know if we're talking like a 4-week, a month period. What are people's thoughts?
Is it possible that we can get the application? I mean, it's fairly early in the month still. Is it a possibility that we think we can wrap up the application process by the end of the month? That way going into February or the last week of this month, try to form that committee, try to solidify that committee?
Yeah, so I agree. I think we have to do this, give it a little time, but do it as quickly as possible. Again, if we intend to complete this review process and recommendations by May to get it on as a referendum. So yes, is that reasonable?
Yes.
Would
Mr.
we
Griffith?
be putting an emergency item on this coming commission for formulation of the of the Charter Review Committee?
Sonny, I don't know if we necessarily need to have it formalized yet. I was looking more at the deadline
For
for
the
the next agenda, which would be, that's February 8th, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so we could probably have, a resolution where you're directing down to the Charter Review Committee, those things that you want them to look at. And also instructions on the 8th. But it wouldn't be a full 4 weeks if you wanted to try and do appointment at that same meeting. It would be just shy of 4 weeks, just for clarification.
Anybody?
I honestly
stop?
think that those that would be interested, as soon as we hit it out or put it out on the streets, they'll immediately apply for it. So I don't think a full month is necessary in order for us to try to get this thing on the road.
I think that's
I agree.
So we'll just, how does February 2nd sound? Because that would,
sounds.
Fine, that sounds good.
and then would the commission like us to pass along applications as we receive them? Or do you want to receive them, say, once a week in a package? What's your preference?
Can you send it when you send out your thing on Fridays?
Yeah, of course.
Makes sense.
Is that acceptable to the rest of the commission?
Yeah.
Once a week, yeah, that'll be fine.
And would we be bringing our recommended candidate as well to that meeting? Okay, just so we're clear on that.
So let me ask this question as well, Mayor, if I may. Even though we're making a recommendation as individuals, are the individuals that we request still go through the application process?
I think would be a good idea.
We
Yeah.
still need the form filled out for
Yeah.
record purposes, that's all.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you get us a blank form electronically. Thank you. Okay,
I'm just looking over notes. I think that's everything we needed for Charter Review Committee composition. We'll work with Peter on getting a press release and some other information together to push it out. And we'll get you a copy of the application form for your appointees' use.
thank you. Are we ready to move on to the next item? Florida City and County Manager Association Senior Advisor Consultant to assist staff and committee. Discussion around that. Mr. Griffith?
Yeah, we just placed this here as part of some of the previous discussion. It was referenced getting a senior advisor if the commission or committee desired to have some input from them. And I think that's also contingent on the type of items that you direct down to them for review and consideration. But we did reach out. Mr. Ken Parker, who leads up that group, has offered their services. It does come for his time. It's free of charge, but there is a travel reimbursement component to it. And again, I'll state, without knowing exactly what you're going to put or direct down to the committee, there may be a need for them. There may not be a need, but it's an option that we wanted to make sure that you were aware of.
I think it's important that we have someone that we can rely on that's well versed in this subject area. I know we've not, at least I can speak for myself, I have not sat through anything like this. And if the committee has questions, I would definitely like to have someone that's well versed and can give good direction.
I agree. I think that facilitation piece, that knowledge piece is important for this process.
Okay. If that's the consensus of the commission, we can just tell Mr. Parker that his services may be needed. And then we'll just try and focus on the committee composition. And then I think you guys can move on to item number 3.
Okay. Charter review scope. So again, we can start with, or at least consider what the city attorney has put out there as the start of the scope. Commissioner McCaskill, any thoughts?
Yeah, there will be some other things, that, I probably will have added on here, but definitely I start with what you had, for sure.
Commissioner Warren?
Yes, I also agree with what the city attorney has put there for starters. And, and looking at what some of the research from some of the other cities, information as it relates to the structure, where the attorney reports, look like the attorney reports to the commission. So I think that should also be considered for the city as well, based on what I'm looking at here. The council manager structure and who reports to who. I think that'll be super important. That's my opinion.
Commissioner Jones?
I've said enough.
Commissioner Campbell?
I'm fine with the recommendation, and I'm in agreement also with Commissioner Bourne.
So I think we will start with, this is the scope and also provide some additional items for discussion for the committee.
So, Mayor, Commissioners, I've made a note that we'll add to the list that the attorney has already put together. Just a general comment, attorney reporting to the commission for consideration. Will you entertain a date to have any additional items back to staff for consideration for placement on the February 8th agenda? The deadline would be, is that it's the end of January, correct, Sonny?
It would be January 31st, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Jonathan, Mayor, if I may, I think
Yes.
we've had enough time to look over and consider. I don't think that from conversations that we've had prior and conversations today, that additional items may be brought forth. I mean, we've been talking about this for quite some time. We've had this recommendation for quite some time. And it's just time that we put some wheels on this and get this thing moving.
Okay, anybody else? Go ahead, Commissioner McCaskill.
There will be some, maybe additional items that I would like to bring, so if we may entertain a deadline, if any of us would like to add something. It won't be a lot, because as Commissioner Campbell has, did mention, we have had a lot of time to look over this, but there are maybe a couple additional items that I would like to add. So if we
Okay.
can entertain a deadline, I would appreciate that.
Okay, so are we okay with the deadline being, as was it January, what was the exact date? So,
Our pre-agenda deadline is January 31st for the 8th
okay,
meeting.
will that work for everybody?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anything else?
So with the absence of the attorney, it's kind of hard to ask a question. For example, things that we want to see changed or brought up for a vote, because some of these things can be changed without it actually going to the ballot, right? And what would be that process? That's what I was thinking this workshop is about, to ask those kind of questions, but we don't have the people, the subject matter experts here in this workshop to answer those. So
Yeah.
wasn't the young lady that came in and spoke to us, wasn't she supposed to be here today as well?
Ms. Tipton?
Yeah,
No.
she wasn't.
No. And of course, Ms. West is there. She is out.
Is she taking emails or whatever, maybe, if we could just submit the question, whatever it may be, just formulate whatever it is, I think, and send it to her, and maybe we can get it back through,
To Ms. West?
yeah, and so that information can be, brought back to the commission as it, we would like to understand what, which of the things that we're trying to present now does not have to be submitted for charter, not charter review, but be to be placed on the ballot, as opposed to things that we can do from the board.
Mr. Griffith, are you going to?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Mo-
Go ahead, Commissioner Jones.
Again, so more to clarify that, what would be the process? That she give all of us a summary, of what would be that process?
You want the process of how the charter review committee would be formed
No.
and the calendar?
No. Things in the charter that we want to act on prior to the committee doing their recommendation, because in essence, I know we're gonna move and everybody wants to go ahead and have commission form, and that's great, committee form, but as a governing board, we can and should take action when necessary, or when we decide that that's the direction we want to head as a majority group up here. So as a vote, not just, one person said they want this or that. Everybody disagree with what I said, and so that's fine, because that's democracy. However, and it also worked the other way, so we want something done, that's part of our duties to do it. And so what I what I need is clarification in what's the process, so that we'll be in line with law to make a charter change under our authority that we have.
Yeah, if you look at her memorandum, commissioners, the commission can by ordinance actually request that the Putnam County Supervisor of Election place amendments on the next general election ballot. Now, within the framework that she had proposed for the Charter Review Commission, and this was an example to be placed in the charter, but it doesn't have to be. It was just one of the recommendations from the league. The idea was that the Charter Review Committee would forward their recommendations no later than 6 months to the commission. The city commission could veto a proposed charter amendment by a majority vote. However, it's my understanding that if you all saw items that you wanted to propose for the ballot outside of this other process for review, you just do that by ordinance, and then the clerk would then transmit those to the supervisor of elections.
Yeah, but all charter changes don't have to go to
Either
the supervisor
record.
election for a vote.
Well, that's a question that you've asked that we're going to give Ms. West the opportunity to give you a legal opinion on.
Right, so I asked that question when Mr. Watts was here. And he clarified it and said, you're right, Commissioner, that individual things you want changed in the charter is done by commission. So, that's why I was hoping that at least she would be here, or someone else that have completed that process would be here to answer that question. Because that's important, and I know what you have in this memo, but, for clarity. And because we talked about this stuff wouldn't even make it to the ballot. It's really too late. And this is just gonna prolong it as well. And so I think Campbell and Commissioner McCaskill mentioned, she has other things she wanna put on, it's gonna prolong this. But if we wanted one or two things changed, that could be done could we have that answer by the close of business on Friday?
Well, I was going to suggest even something else. We could place a discussion direction item on the upcoming agenda just to kind of keep it in front of you. Hopefully, Ms. West is feeling better by then. She can give you her opinion, and you guys may be able at the commission meeting this Thursday say, well, these are the things we want to move forward outside of the review committee, and these are the things that we want to direct down to the review committee. It's a suggestion for you.
I would like to see that added, if the commission agrees.
Yes.
Anybody else? Commissioner Campbell? Commissioner McCaskill? Commissioner
I'm fine,
Wall?
Mayor. Thank you.
You're fine? Okay, Commissioner McCaskill? Okay, more. Commissioner Jones, anything further?
No, ma'am.
Okay, with that said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn, motion adjourn.
Thank